What's up, everybody? Ron Harris here. Welcome to the Ron Harris Muscle Channel. We are live at 5 on a Friday. Springtime, time to get jacked. I'm here to answer all your questions. We've got some already submitted via social media and all that good stuff, Facebook, Instagram. So I'm going to start with a good one from a gentleman who's 71 years old. It's about a pump. So let's get into that first. A gentleman named Matt Geisinger. Ron, at 71 years old, an avid weight trainer of 4 years. So he didn't start till he was 67. God bless you, sir. I can no longer get a pump. I'm fully hydrated and take every exercise to its limit. I've used high reps and low reps. Still no pump. I train one body part per day. I'm still growing. I know you don't need to feel a pump to grow, but it sure felt good when I was getting them. By the way, I'm 6'1", 250, 18% body fat. Could it be an age thing? I've even tried several different pump supplements. Still nothing. Is there something I can do to get that pump back? Thanks. Easy answer, very, very easy answer. A low dose of Cialis every day, 5 milligrams. That's what I do. I get 10 milligram tabs for, I think I always wait till a discount from ziphealth.com. They're not a sponsor or anything like that, saying you don't have to pay full price from a doctor. There's a ton of places to get them online. 10 mg tabs, I chop those in half. I have a pill splitter. I have one with breakfast every morning. It's good for your circulation. It's good, they're finding it has benefits for your heart because of the circulation. And you will get a great pump all the time because Cialis, Viagra, these drugs that are created for erectile or prescribed for erectile dysfunction, they promote vasodilation. They open up your blood vessels. They improve blood flow. So, of course, you're thinking, well, that's great for my erections and that. But a lot of bodybuilders use either a little Viagra, a small dose of Viagra before going to the gym, or they're on Cialis. I recommend a low dose of Cialis every day, because Cialis is very long acting. Viagra has a short window. I think it's like two to three, maybe 4 hours, something like that. Then its effects are gone, which if you're taking a pre-workout, that's fine. You're leaving for the gym. You're not going to be needing to have that effect all day long. But if you're doing that low dose of Cialis consistently every day, I just have it with breakfast. Makes it easier. Get that out of the way. You will get great pumps. These pump products, they do work. The issue with most of them is you're combining them with caffeine. They have a high dose of caffeine and other stimulants, but caffeine in particular is a vasoconstrictor. It constricts your blood vessels, constricts blood flow, which is working in antithesis. It's working in the opposite effect of trying to open up the blood vessels. So you've got in one product, you've got the things like arginine and ornithine that are the pump facilitators. Arginine, did I get that right? I know arginine is one of them. The nitric oxide boosting agents to open up your blood vessels, but then you're also pairing that with a very high dose of caffeine, typically minimum 200 milligrams, but that's very low. Most pre-workout products, a scoop is 300 or 400 milligrams of caffeine, which is like two cups of coffee already. And a lot of people will do more than one scoop, especially if you've been using pre-workouts for a long time. So that is the easy, quick solution. Now, pumps, there's been no evidence that pumps are actually crucial for gaining muscle, gaining size, anything like that. Anecdotally, we seem to believe that and have for many years as bodybuilders. It's kind of a bro science thing. There's not one study, not one that I have ever heard of or aware of, someone correct me if they're wrong, that shows there is a direct link between getting a great pump where the muscles fill up with far more blood than usual and muscle growth. No link at all. But we do like to have that feeling. It looks great, feels great to have the muscles temporarily swollen up like that, nice and pushed out tight against the skin. So that's why we like the pump. All right, let's move on. This came from Big Mike Cox. Who's the most famous bodybuilder in your phone? And I want to name drop because I was a writer, still am a writer, but I've been doing the writing gig for the magazines for well over 30 years at this point. So I have pretty much everyone in my phone that I've ever had to interview for one reason or another. These aren't people that I could just call up anytime, just shoot the shit with, but I have people like Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, even Lou Ferrigno, Dorian Yates, Sean Ray, Kevin Levrone. I have C-Bum's number. I'm never going to bother, hey, Chris, how you doing? I'm never going to do that. But I have these people in my phone because I've done interviews with them and set them up that way. But I could probably count on one hand the pro bodybuilders that I have in my phone that I would actually just call up for any other reason other than to set up an interview. So this is a good one I want to get into. Your earliest memories in your reporting non-competitive side of bodybuilding. First column, first interview for Iron Teen. So the magazine's one thing. I'll talk about that just for a second. My first column was in 1992 for Iron Man magazine. It was called Iron Teen. A young guy, he was just out of his teens, named Glenn Frost, had been doing the column. For whatever reason, I think he was in college. He just didn't want to do it anymore. Couldn't find the time. So I had started writing for Iron Man a few months before that, and was already starting to be a regular contributor. They offered me the column, and that was my first column, and it was written under my own name. You know, for many, many years, I did ghostwriting columns for other bodybuilders, pro bodybuilders, or I would call them up and talk to them, take notes, and then I would write the Q&As in first person as that bodybuilder. But I wasn't really just making it up. I was talking to them and getting the answers from them. But I want to show you something, guys. This was the ESPN American Muscle Show, where I started working January 1991, and I was there through summer of 98. So I was 21 years old when I went to Los Angeles and began working. What I'm going to show you is our coverage, which I was there, and I was part of the crew, the TV crew there. And I wrote the script for this segment on the show, did all the graphics. This was the 1991 Pro Ironman. Let me turn the volume off. Let me make sure the volume's off first. Yep, okay. All right, so let's share that. Okay, so we showed the entire top 10. Here it was at a place called the Aviation Park Auditorium, Redondo Beach, which had hosted a lot of shows. Well, actually, it was the Pro Ironman was held every year there for about, I want to say about 20 years. And other shows were held there. I saw the late Ray McNeil turn pro there at the North American. I saw next year Paul Dillette turn pro on this very stage at Redondo Beach. This place wasn't actually near the beach. It was a good 2 or 3 miles from the actual beach, but it was in the city of Redondo Beach. It was right off the 405 freeway. So some of these guys you're not even familiar with, but Bob Paris was one of the greats they talk about as far as this is the editing style back then. We were trying to look cool. The late Momo Benaziza was in this lineup. This was the first. There's Momo. He died, I believe, that same year, that fall, right after in the post Olympia show. Steve Brisbois from Canada. So selling Ricardo Gia from Holland. I forgot all about this guy. This was the first pro bodybuilding show I ever went to, and I went to it as a media person covering it for the television show American Muscle on ESPN. Van Walcott Smith. Geez, I've forgotten about some of these guys, but I just want to take you guys down memory lane. Bodybuilding was on ESPN. Katsumi Ishimura. He was the first pro bodybuilder I ever saw. Summer of 1988 when I ducked into, or spring of 88 when I ducked into World Gym Venice to buy a tank top. He was working out. Kevin McGann, from New Hampshire. Wow, look at that. Selwyn Cottrell from England. It's a big dude, 6'3". Sure, a lot of you guys forgot all about him. John Brown. This is the guy that he was the mentor for both Sean Ray and Melvin Anthony. And you can see a lot of Melvin Anthony's posing style was adapted from things he learned from John. John would stay out there for 5, sometimes 8 minutes posing. There would be a limit on routines, but because John was so entertaining, they used to let him just keep going. Bob Paris here, very symmetrical. He was one of the best classical physiques before there was such thing as classic physique. Great poser, very graceful, beautiful shape, symmetry, very aesthetic. Never got like totally shredded. He wasn't as huge as the other guys, but man, he was kind of like the modernized version of Steve Reeves. If you know who that was, Steve Reeves was considered by many the perfect physique of his era, the early 50s, and he went on to become a movie star. Didn't really compete in bodybuilding very long, but Bob Paris inspired a whole generation with the style of posing, the symmetry. Actually, sort of got blacklisted in the sport after he came out as openly gay. Shortly after this, Wilhelm Jasinowski. I forgot all about this guy. Jeez, I mean, if I forgot about him, I'm sure most of you people have never even heard of these guys. So this was the whole top 10. We did the segment. The contest coverage was just one part of that show, American Muscle. We had contest coverage, workouts. Here's the late Mohamed Benaziza. So this was in 91. The year prior to this, he had beaten Dorian Yates at the Night of Champions in New York City in Dorian's pro debut, which inspired Dorian to go back and really work on his back because he felt that Momo really killed him in the back shots. So this was the guy that inspired him. And Momo died, unfortunately, had taken diuretics and was so dried out, he ended up having a heart attack later that year in Holland. Franco Santoriello, he was the face of a supplement called Cybergenics for a few years, which was hugely popular. A lot of bodybuilders bought it back in the late 80s, thinking it was going to make them look like this guy, Franco. Tremendous legs, arms on this guy. Later became, I believe he's an ordained minister now. I think he is. Yeah, never really lived up to what we had hoped he would in terms of pro bodybuilding potential. But you could say that about so many people. I think he turned pro 88, not the 88 now. Yeah, was it the 89 Nationals in Miami? So at this point, he'd been a pro for a couple of years, but he didn't do that many pro shows. And he never really panned out the way we had hoped he would. This is another guy, Francis Benfado. What a physique this guy had. Still does. I think he's like 60 years old now or more, because I'm 54. I know he's older than me. Yeah, another one with just a crazy, impeccable shape, perfect symmetry. You know, I think he's all of 175 or 80 pounds right there, what you're looking at. But wow, great poser. Brisbois, wow. So Brisbois was only had been turned pro as a lightweight from Canada, 5'4". Guys, remember, this was long before there was a 212 division. The shorter, lighter guys, they were up there with guys at 220, 250, 270 pounds. It was all one group of pros. There was no lighter weight division. So for them to do that, because he was top 6 here. You see all the guys that we've shown up to now, he beat all those guys. He had an incredible shape, symmetry. Not the biggest guy, but look at that. Just perfect balance, proportion. Very well put together physique. Yeah, Steve Brisbois was pretty damn great. We got after that. Gotta get to your comments. Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear me and all that. I'll get off this after we're done here. Vince Taylor, wow. Vince was a great pro for years and years. Won a lot of pro shows, top 3 at the Olympia, and I believe it was his first Olympia this year, 91. The first guy to do at that Olympia, he was the first one to do that Terminator routine with the robotic noises and he's the one that invented it. I never saw anyone prior to Vince Taylor do that. He was pretty damn great. Thierry Pastel, this is someone a lot of people forgot about, from France. He had some of the greatest abs. Look at that. He had 8 abs. Not everyone has a 6-pack. Some people do have an 8-pack. It's just how many tendinous encryptions go across that one muscle, because the ab, what we call the abs, is actually one muscle, the rectus abdominis. And Terry had 8 of them. Again, shorter, lighter guy, but he held his own. He had plenty of mass on that little frame. And he didn't have a big, thick waist at all either. There we go. The late Andreas Munzer from Germany. 5'10", 210. You could see that is not a big guy. 5'10" and 210. That's all he was, but good Lord, was he shredded. This footage, unfortunately, this is like a VHS converted to DVD, uploaded to YouTube. We've lost a lot of the resolution on this, so you can't appreciate here what he really looked like in terms of condition. Shredded to the bone. He had striations everywhere, splinters all across his chest, feathered cross striations across his quads. He was just shredded every show he ever did. Renel Janvier. Did Renel pass away? I think he did. 5'7", 210. He had turned pro at the USA in 88 as a light heavyweight. Came from Connecticut, originally from Haiti. Another great Haitian American bodybuilder like Max Charles. But Renel, look at that. Look at those biceps. He had that double peak to the biceps. Beautiful shape, small joints. A lot of these guys would have been better suited to Classic if Classic had been around back then, but Classic wasn't created until 2016. So Renel, I mean, look, he still did pretty well for a guy that didn't have the mass of some of the bigger guys. And here we go, though. Yeah, he was a runner-up. This is your winner, JJ Marsh. 5'8", 210, still not enormous. 5'8", 210 pounds. To put that in perspective, Nick Walker is 5'7" on a good day. Nick competes around 250, 255. So the guys back then typically were not as massive. We're looking at the early 90s. This is 1991. This is 33 years ago, a little over 33 years, because this show was in February. So JJ was damn good. He won a few shows in his time. Never did that well at the Olympia, the Arnold Classic level, but He was pretty damn good, JJ. I mean, he beat all these other guys. Was he? No, he wasn't a WBF. I'm trying to remember. Look at that lat spread. You could tell the guys back then all put a lot more emphasis and practice into their posing presentation because it was judged. It was on the scorecard. The posing round was judged back then. If you were a really good poser, you could move up a spot or two. If you're a really horrible poser, you could drop down a spot or two back in those days. It wasn't a set in stone, the placings after the judging. So is this almost, it's almost over? I think so. Yeah, that's the end of the segment. So let's get out of that. Let's get to a couple more of the questions that I already had. And then we'll get to you guys. Gabodo Jimmy, guy up in the New England area. Do tattoos hurt you in bodybuilding competition? They definitely can. I do believe they can. If you're somebody who has like a full back piece, for example, it's going to be very difficult unless you can find, I've heard there's some product that covers up tattoos perfectly, but it can mar the line so you can't really see the cuts, the details in a muscle group. If you have a full chest piece or a full back piece or, you know, full sleeves, especially like full black and white or full color, it's very hard for the lines of the physique, the shape and everything to not be disturbed. That's why I waited, even though I wasn't making my living as a bodybuilder, I still waited until I was pretty much in the end phase of my competitive years to get most of my tattoos, because I felt that they broke up the flow of the physique and the lines, just the overall shape and everything. So I waited. I don't think you should have a ton of tattoos. It can definitely throw off just the overall lines and symmetry. And if it's close between you and somebody else, and you have all these distracting tattoos, especially if they're like really random and different shapes and everything, and the person next to you has a clean slate, a clean canvas, as a judge, I'd give it to that guy, because, you know, his physique is, you're judging a physique, and skin is part of the physique, unfortunately. A couple more, and we'll move on to you guys. Will Hadi win the 24 Olympia and regain his title back from Derek like Jay did after losing to Dexter? We'll find out. We'll find out in, is it October, the show? I think it's in October again. You know, but don't count out Nick Walker. Don't count out Samson. If Samson gets with a new coach, which I anticipate he will, and they can really dry Samson, get him that crisp, dry condition, that extra level of condition that we've never seen from Samson. I mean, look at Samson got some first place votes at the Arnold Classic last weekend against Hadi, and Hadi was shredded to the bone. So for Samson to do that well, where he was getting some first place votes against Hadi, even lacking the condition by a long shot, Hadi was in much better condition than Samson. That tells you if he nails his condition, it's very, very possible Samson could win the Olympia. Nick Walker, don't count him out. Don't count Derek out. He'll have a whole year to get better and improve. He's still a young guy. And don't count out Hadi, man. Hadi looked amazing at these two Arnold shows. He could come back and take it for sure. Gear question. Any experience with NPP cycle? How did it compare to DECA for gains? So I only used NPP a couple times, and it was in more recent years. So by that point, I'm not gaining anyway. I was already in my 50s by the time I tried NPP, which is the fast-acting version of nandrolone phenylpropionate. I believe it's water-based rather than oil-based. But I personally, you know, guys can have their own opinion about it. I don't think there's no difference. It's going to get in your system faster. So if you're using NPP at the start of a cycle, you're going to feel and see the effects much quicker than you would with the longer-acting nandrolone decanate, whatever, how you pronounce it. So once that decanate is in your system, though, it's going to take a good 10 to 14 days, from my experience, to really kick in. But once it's in your system, it's very long-acting, it's very stable, has a long half-life. So I don't think it makes any difference personally. And the last question I will get to was about Sebum versus Lee Haney. So I know a lot of you guys don't really know what Lee Haney, how good he looked back in the day. So let's take a look at Bumstead first.
the band with the singer who blew his head off. Hey, we should say I ate a piece of his brain, too. I got something for you guys. This is good. Every member of Mayhem will wear this at all times from now on.
There's one thing guys do that I find strangely attractive. And I have to talk about this because I have some questions. Okay, picture this. We are walking together outside.
Okay, we're off. All right, guys, now I can go to your questions. So sorry about that. I was watching videos on my phone while that was recording. I'm not going to do the pec dance for you. Sorry. Nanny, Russell, after doing caffeine, aspirin before fasted cardio, old school fat burning, your thoughts, and do I need amino acids during cardio to prevent muscle loss? So Nanny is talking about the ECA stack that was hugely popular and hugely effective. That was what we used to use not only for cardio for fat loss, but we use that for pre-workout. A lot of us, I did. There were a few really big name products that had the ECA stack in it in the 90s that were huge sellers for the supplement companies. Hugely effective. Ephedrine got banned after some unfortunate incidents where people took far too much of it. I remember it was a baseball player. I think it was a major league baseball player, was using it in spring training because he had come to training grossly overweight, and he was taking large doses of ephedrine before practices and throughout the day in an effort to lose weight, and he had a heart attack and died. So they banned ephedrine, but he wasn't the only one. There was a couple other people that went nuts with the doses and ruined it for everybody. But yeah, it worked very well before fasted cardio. It would probably work well for taking it even if you're not fasted. I don't think you'd have to be fasted. Dr. Lane Norton, BioLane on Instagram, and he has his own YouTube channel. He's shown a lot of studies that have debunked the bro science myth or belief that fasted cardio is more effective. Overall, for fat loss, it does not seem to matter one bit whether you do your cardio on an empty stomach after not eating all night or an hour or two after a meal. Doesn't matter. The fat burning is you're going to have more extended fat burning during the session or after the session, one way or the other. It all evens out, so it doesn't even matter. But the ECA stack was very, very effective for fat loss. I think you can still find it if you look around do a little search, ECA. I bet you'll find some products. Do you need amino acids during cardio to prevent muscle loss? I always did it. I mean, I don't know if there's actually been any studies to see whether you retain more muscle mass doing that versus not doing it. Maybe there are. I would have. I used to take like branch chains, or that was a big thing for many years. Before my cardio, if I would do fasted cardio in the morning, I would take a serving of usually capsule form branch chain amino acids. Now we have essential amino acids. I like the new Muscle Tech one. It's called EAA Plus. Comes in fruit punch or grape. Delicious. Yeah, I would drink that. I would drink that during. It would be a good insurance policy. I don't know if you need it or not. Maybe you still have enough aminos floating around your system from the last meal, or if you had them intra-workout while you were training, that it wouldn't really matter. But like I said, better safe than sorry. It's not a bad insurance policy. I would have them just to make sure. I don't want to lose muscle. You don't want to lose muscle. It's too hard to build muscle. Big Mike Cox, Cialis before leg day. I hope Denise Messina wouldn't be in the gym. Yeah, so that's a good one. Yeah, Cialis. I mean, it's great before. It's for you want a good pump when you're training anything, back, chest, shoulders, arms, whatever, legs. You want every muscle group to get that good blood flow, the optimal blood flow, and that great pump. So why wouldn't you do a low dose of Cialis? So Denise Messina was a female bodybuilder who did. We call it softcore porn. That's what it was. A magazine called Muscle Elegance with a lot of female bodybuilders in topless, fully nude, lingerie, all kinds of stuff. And they did some videos. I don't know if there were any dudes in the videos or not. I have never seen one of the videos, but I wouldn't be averse to watching one. So the thing about these ED drugs is they don't make you horny. High doses of testosterone, tren, but tests, all steroids are just derivatives of tests. But if you're on a high dose of anything, really, if your test levels are really high, either naturally or artificially, synthetically, you're going to have an enhanced sex drive. You're going to be more attracted to women than usual, and you'll be aroused more easily. So, yeah, maybe you'd want you'd want to be a little more cautious, interacting with women at the gym, especially if you've got something revealing on, like your gray sweats or if any of you wear leggings out there. I'm sure most of you don't. So Utopian Seeker is recommending citrulline. Citrulline is another pump product, another product that's a nitric oxide booster or enhancer. It's in a lot of the pre-workouts. These do work. They definitely work. You don't need Cialis, but if you're doing all these other things and you still can't get a pump, you're doing high reps, you're doing the creatine, the citrulline, the arginine, you're doing all that stuff and you're still not getting a pump, you can't not get a pump with Cialis. It's a drug specifically designed to open up your blood vessels. So, yeah, that's why I say do it. Dane Serrano, hope you're glad you do hair transplant. I did mine 3 years ago. I'm happy I do Tasteride, minoxidil, oral, no side effect. What about you? So I just started taking last week minoxidil in a foam. They sell it at Costco in like a 6-pack where it's dirt cheap compared to if you had to get it prescribed and pay for it that way. Because you can get it over the counter minoxidil. So far, so good. You can see it's starting to fill in. It's going to take a while. I think yesterday was 6 weeks. Is that right? 6 weeks or 7 weeks? I think we might be 7 weeks now. I'm not really sure, but it's either 6, 7 weeks. So you can see this is my new hairline where the hair is sparse here. That's where I was receding up here, and that's filling in. But you could see, I'll go close. You could see they grafted, a few thousand hair follicles in there from the back of my head, but it's still going to take a while for those hairs to really grow enough so you'll see a real clean, distinct hairline. That's going to recapture the hairline of my youth, of my 30s anyway. Not to say youth, but I still had plenty of hair. I had no hair loss in my 30s. Didn't start till I was in I want to say like early to mid 40s is when it finally started coming up. And it's a genetic thing. I have 4 brothers and we all have the same exact pattern of hair loss, all of us. And that's all I'm taking as far as I had 1 treatment so far of PRP, that platelet-rich plasma. Yeah, I got the receipt right there. 1 platelet-rich plasma PRP hair restoration technique. I got it on a Groupon. So I had that treatment the week before last. She took some blood out of my arm, spun it around in a centrifuge, and then the plasma was just like yellowish fluid, kind of like Tren. She injected that in a bunch of spots here and on the top of my head to improve the blood flow, because you want the maximal blood flow in the scalp. That's the main reason that I quit cannabis a couple months ago against my own will. And, I loved weed, loved it for years. The way a lot of guys will come after work, they'll have a couple beers. I would always smoke a little bit when I was all done with my work, relax, help me sleep at night, help my appetite, all kinds of things. But THC is very bad for hair. I've done the research on it. I know some people try to argue with me about it, but believe me, guys, if I didn't really truly believe from everything I've seen and the research I've done online that THC has a negative impact on hair regrowth and hair loss and things like that, I would still be smoking or doing edibles or whatever. But I'm convinced the science that I looked at was sound. Mike Cox, I vividly remember watching the 91 Ironman on American Muscle. Great show of memories. Can we see more old school American Muscle clips? Yeah, next one of these, I'll bring up some. I actually don't even have, maybe in some of my storage, in like my crawl space, I might have a couple of VHS tapes, old shows, but I never transferred anything over. There's not a lot of that show on YouTube, but I'll look and see what I can find. It was a great show, and I was very, very privileged and lucky to work on it for over 7 years. Yeah, I was with that show over 7 years, almost 8, I think. And yeah, we covered pro bodybuilding, top amateur bodybuilding, covered the big NPC shows all around the country. Once in a while, some international shows, but it was a really cool thing. I'm very, very happy I was part of it. Did I write any segments for Don Ross or John Romano? No, they both wrote their own. John did a cooking segment on the show. Mike's asking. He did the Twin Lab muscle meal because he was sponsored by a Twin Lab company at the time. Him and his wife at the time, Laura Craval, who had won the Ms. International, was the top Ms. Olympia. No, I'm wrong. Am I wrong? I'm completely wrong on that. That's Chris Aceto's wife. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. No, he did. He was married to Shelly Beatty, another pro bodybuilder. No, John wrote his own because John did. He was a chef. He was great at what he did. He did great cooking segments. I was at a lot of those shoots, and I would eat the food afterwards. It was always delicious. He was, you know, he didn't. I don't think it was scripted at all. He would just sort of narrate. He knew what the recipes were and the ingredients. He would show you the ingredients. Yeah, I think he just sort of winged it, and it came out fine every time. Don Ross, for those who don't know, he did a gossip segment on the show for about a year or two. I think it was just called Muscle Beach News. I think that's what he called it, and it was industry gossip because we didn't have YouTube back in the day. We had no social media, so once a month people would see Don Ross, and he would tell you what was going on with everybody. It wasn't usually much dirt. It was more progress people were making, big events, people, opening up a gym or a supplement store, or maybe somebody got injured once in a while, but it wasn't really too much dirt. But Don wrote his own stuff. Don was a great writer. Don was the senior writer or senior editor for Muscular Development in the 90s for a few years. So he was with MD. John and Don were both with MD long before I was. I didn't start with MD. My first article I ever wrote for them wasn't until late 2001. It was a Jenna Jameson interview, the porn star. That was my first article under my own name. I had done a couple ghostwritten columns, subcontracted for another writer in the few months prior to that. But yeah, Don was a very clever guy. He was hilarious. He had been a pro wrestler. He had a cable access show in Los Angeles that was hilarious. He was a character, man. I miss Don. And he wasn't a horrible bodybuilder either. Funny, Mike. Denise welcomes Cumminsville, kind of really cool person. Yeah, Denise Messino. Yeah, I mean, if you're into muscle chicks, me and Mike, we love muscle. We love big buff women. I mean, my wife's buff, but yeah, I mean, I never looked at thinner women that didn't work out quite that way, no matter how pretty they were. But you get some with a pretty face and they're jacked. I was like, oh boy, I'm done. Yeah, Mike adds, she was my muscle crush. Went to booth first at the Arnold. Yeah, Muscle Elegance. So Denise used to have a booth at the Arnold Classic in Ohio every year. So they probably had booths at the FIBO and everything too, which I never went to. But yeah, she would have the top women from her magazine. It was a magazine, and from the videos, they would all work the booth all weekend, and all the schmoes like us, we'd be lining up to take pictures with them, buy their merchandise. It was a good times. Steve Brisbois was a great poser. Yeah, so many of the guys back then had really great routines. They put a lot of time and effort into the poses, the transitions, the lighting at the Ironman. Everyone still talks about that because Mike Neveu, who did the lighting for the show, it was promoted by Ironman magazine. It was the Ironman Pro Invitational, and Mike was co-owner. Him and John Balick. John was the publisher of Ironman, and Mike was the chief photographer. He shot all the covers, and I'd say 90% or more of the photos inside. He was amazing. I was privileged enough to shoot with him on 5 different occasions, from 1993 to my last shoot was in 2003. Yeah, over the course of 10 years, I shot with him 5 times. He was amazing at lighting, light and shadow. Just knew how to really sculpt the backlighting, everything to bring out all the detail. If you were in great shape, he could make you look like something out of a cartoon. This is before there was no AI, there was no CGI. There was not much touching up of photos back then. It was just they relied on their own skills as photographers and with the lighting and the composition to get the best shots. A lot of guys that 91 would have been under that 212 pastel, Munzer, Brisbois, Momo, yeah. And they held their own. I mean, they did very well. I mean, look, Momo beat Dorian the year before in Dorian's pro debut. And, it pissed Dorian off. And that's partly why Dorian came back the next year, crushed that show, and then took second place at the Olympia to Lee Haney, because he didn't like the fact that he'd been beaten by this other guy, this guy who was 5'4" and 190 pounds probably on a good day. Yeah. Chris K, an interview with the German Rip Hone. Stefan Kienzle said his newest client will be Mo Shaban. Good decision from Mo to work with Stefan. Yeah, I know. I'm not sure who Mo was working with before. I'm not going to knock whoever that coach was, but Stefan does a great job. He did a great job with Wesley. He's done a great job with Urs. I think Ursa's body was just tired at these last couple Arnolds, which is why we weren't seeing his full potential. He looked much better at the Arnold UK. He was fuller for sure, but you can tell his body just looks like it needs a break. I think he's already qualified for Olympia, correct? Isn't he? I would just sit out, wait till do like the Olympia and the Dubai show if I were him. Is Super Draw better than Anavar? Certainly more powerful. Super Draw. So it first came out as an actual supplement before it got banned, and then it became a black market drug that's to this day still manufactured. I don't know the chemical structure, but it's very close in terms of results. I used it a couple times. Very similar to what you would get result-wise from something like Anadrol. So very, very androgenic. You get a lot of water retention, oily skin, probably get some acne breakout with it, but aggression, strength, you get strong real quick. The water retention, so very rewarding quickly because you get that quick weight gain, which is really a lot of it's just water bloat. But when you're in that gaining phase, you're looking at the scale, you're seeing how your clothes fill out. It's exciting, it's thrilling to have that reward of seeing something where you're actually getting bigger, like almost every day. But as with Anadrol, it's very liver toxic. You would not want to be on a high dose of it. You wouldn't want to be on even a moderate dose of it for more than 4 or 5 weeks. Obviously, if you're someone who has access to getting blood work done, you can get your blood work done every couple of weeks, cheap or free or whatever. I would monitor your liver enzymes while you're using it just to make sure you're not doing too much damage. Liver is a restorative organ. It's going to regenerate itself, but you don't want to do too much damage. You don't want to really push your luck, as I like to say. Samson 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Everyone keeps asking how do you win the Euro? Samson win the process immediately. Ignore Derek Lunsford. Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore the current Olympia. Like I said, he's had a full year, as has Nick Walk. Well, Nick's doing the New York Pro, so he won't have a full year. Now that Derek is Mr. Olympia, he can do what most Mr. Olympia champions have done, which is only compete in the Olympia. Just do that one show, which, maybe after this, he'll decide to do the Arnold every year too. Now that they've bumped up first place to $500,000, but we're going to see Derek better this year. There's no doubt in my mind. He's only 30, 31 years old. He's still a young guy. He's still growing. This is a guy that was, so I saw him turn pro in 2017 as a light heavy at 198 pounds. He was winning he won the 212 Olympia at 212 to 11.5, whatever, and he won the Mr. Olympia in the 230s. He's getting bigger. He's keeping his waist nice and tight. He's keeping really good condition all year. He's going to be better than ever. Hadi, I don't know. Hadi's about as good as he's going to get. Does he need to be any better? Probably not. So, yeah, don't count him out. And I wouldn't count out Walker. People say, he can't win with that shape, that structure. That's what they said about Jay Cutler, too, that, he didn't have enough aesthetics. He wasn't pretty enough to win. And we saw that he did win. So, oh, Nanny, I already answered that. I think ECA is a great idea before fasted cardio. Great energy. You'll be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as we like to say. You'll be able to hit that step mill or whatever you're doing for 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour, however long you're doing your fasted cardio. No problem. You'll have the energy even though you don't have any food in your system. And it will. It's one of the few products you can rely on for fat loss. It worked for millions of people. Ripped Fuel, I think, was the Twin Lab product that was probably the best-selling version of it. Hydroxycut, I don't think Hydroxycut. I'm not sure if that had ephedrine in it. Probably did, the original formula. But yeah, I mean, if you look online, I'm sure you can find it now. A lot of people thought Hadi was better. Yeah, Hadi was better. My Cox Ron saw Lee Haney guest pose a Jan 10 in 1990, about 8 weeks up, that waist in that crucifix pose. I don't like to do the crucifix pose because my arms suck, but crucifix pose is like this. So Lee had tremendous rib cage, huge, chest didn't flatten out when he put it out, shoulder width, great wide clavicles, tiny waist. He would hit the vacuum, and that crucifix pose for him was it was a knockout shot. Yeah, not many people hit that shot the way Lee did ever. Cody Jolly, how do Arnold Ohio look this year is untouchable? No one can beat that if he shows up like that, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, a Samson in condition like we've never seen him before, I think he could beat him. Derek, an improved Derek, could beat him. We don't know. And Nick Walker, like I said, if Nick Walker looks just insanely good this year, and I don't think I'm leaving anyone out. I don't think Jacked is ready quite yet to take those guys out. We'll see. I don't think Krizo is ready to take all those guys out that we just mentioned. Sam's finding another coach is going to be hard after he said his wife prepped him for shows. Milo's supposed to be his coach. Trust issue. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to, it's going to be a process. They're going to have to, whoever he talks to or decides to go with, they're going to have a good understanding that, you know, if I'm your coach, you need to listen to what I say. You need to execute my plan. Don't doubt or second guess me, or this isn't going to work. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure that's going to be, when he does announce his new coach, I guarantee that's going to be like the top news story. Every outlet's going to have videos about it. Every panel show podcast is going to be arguing about it, discussing, debating. Is this the right fit? Is Samson going to listen to him, or is his wife going to tell him what to do behind the coach's back? And, you know, it's good drama. It's good excitement. And, you know, if you don't like drama, you know, I'm not a huge fan of drama, but the sport isn't that exciting, guys. It's not like we have, you know, highlight reels like ESPN Sports Center to watch these great plays in baseball, basketball, football. We got to go with what we got. So Mark says, I disagree, Cody. Sampson did manage to have one judge seeing him as a winner in UK finals. Pakistan 105. Sampson proves again how he can lose. Anybody can lose. Anybody can lose. Under the right circumstances. I mean, Ronnie Coleman was unbeatable, supposedly. Eventually, Ronnie lost. Dorian was unbeatable. Had he kept going, I think he would have got beat. He bowed out because injuries were taking his toll. I mean, that last Olympia that he won in '97, his tricep was hanging literally on by a thread. It was about to go and pop, and it did come off. You could see he has one arm significantly. The tricep, he never had it repaired. It's retracted up, and it's much smaller than the other arm. Which, believe me, I feel his pain. I have one tricep that's noticeably smaller than the other that I tore, even though I had it fixed. Obviously, it was Paul. Paul was on Fuad's BFF. I don't know. We'll never know. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where every judge signs his name and we could see who voted, because people would probably come after them if they disagreed with how they scored the show, where they placed their favorite athletes. So I don't blame them. I don't know who it was. All I know is Tyler Mannion on his recap said it was a much closer show. Samson with a bit of improvements is hard to beat. I agree. I mean, Samson needs maybe a little bit more back thickness, a little more glute development. His glutes aren't really, if you want to have strided glutes, which like Hadi does, like most of these guys do, you have to have more thickness to the glute muscle. It has to be more developed. So I think that's going to be part of Samson's final, you know, he's almost done. He's put on all the size, which Milos was key in putting most of this recent size on him. Don't get it twisted. Give Milos Sarshev his credit, his props. He's the one that put these last 40 pounds of muscle and filled out that frame to the point where Samson's an Arnold Classic champ and third place at the Olympia. But there's still a little more improvement to be made, a little more back thickness, definitely more detail from the back. Glutes and back need to be drier, tighter, striated, just more detailed, more crisply, cleanly detailed. And then I don't know who's beating this guy. I mean, he's got the height, the structure, the shape. You know, we'll see. I mean, Andrew Jacked, if and when he improves, we'll see if he can push him. I don't know, but the two shorter guys, three shorter guys, Nick, Hadi, and Derek are all on the shorter side. I'm a short king, so I can talk like that. You know, you can't count them out either. Hadi showed up the day before. Well, Samson didn't have to travel. Yeah. I mean, but he still blew him away in condition, so it wasn't like a conditioning issue. I don't think Hadi could have looked. He could have been a tiny bit sharper at UK, like he was in Ohio, but it was close. It was close enough. He was off that condition by like 1%. We're being so nitpicky. The night show Hadi prejudging was good as Ohio. Yeah, because he just got off the plane. You know, these visa issues. I feel for the guy. I feel for Hadi that he has to deal with all these visa issues that a lot of other athletes, like the American athletes, don't have to deal with this on anywhere near the level that Hadi does. We get visas to almost anywhere we want with ease compared to him. How come no one talks about pyramid sets anymore? I don't know. There's a lot of things. You know, I sometimes use this phrase some people think it sounds like I'm bragging or being arrogant, but sometimes I say I've forgotten more about training than a lot of these people now that call themselves coaches, they know. And it's because we had all these, these concepts, these principles, these techniques. There's really not much new under the sun. Most of the stuff that people are discovering now was being done decades ago. Pyramid sets, all that really means is that as your work sets go on, you're doing higher weight and less reps. So let's say you're doing dumbbell presses, flat dumbbell presses. This is how I might have done it back in the day when I was very strong in that exercise. So maybe I would warm up with like 40s for 15 reps. I would do 60s for like 10 reps, and those are my warm-ups. Work sets would be like 80s for 12, which wasn't a failure. I could have kept going. Hundreds for 10 to 12, pretty close to failure. 110s for like 8 to 10, and that would be the failure. And then like 120s for like 6 to 8. So the weight went up and up, and the reps came down. It's actually a safer way to train. For a while, I was doing the reverse pyramid, which is to warm up and then start out with your heaviest weight, which seems like a good idea. And I justified it. I believed it was a better way to train for a while because I figured, well, if I can handle more weight, that's going to give me more muscle growth. So if I start out heavy, instead of working my way up, I could go heavier. So I could start out with 130s for flat presses instead of working my way up and only being able to end with 120s. So while in theory that sounded good, it still doesn't give your joints, your connective tissues, more specifically your tendons and your ligaments, proper time to acclimate, and you become far more susceptible to injury. And once you start injuring your tendons, it's once they get inflamed, which they will from very, very heavy weights like that on a regular basis, unless you have periods of lighter training or deload phases, as they say, or you take scheduled time off every 8 weeks or 10 weeks, you take a week or two off. Those tendons are chronically inflamed, and eventually one unlucky day they're going to pop and tear. So yeah. How many meals I used to eat on my biggest days? It was always like 6 meals. It was always 6 meals. I never went over 6 meals because I never felt that I could properly digest the food if I didn't give myself at least 2 hours. It would be like 2 hours on the dot if I was eating really clean between meals. If there was more fat in the meals, it would be like two and a half, sometimes 3 hours. But from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, my goal was 6 meals, 6 good meals, solid meals. Shakes didn't count for me. Eggs and oatmeal in the morning, a lot of chicken and rice meals, steak and potatoes. Didn't eat a lot of fish back in those days. It was a lot of red meat. There was a lot of phases where I would eat red meat at least once a day, if not twice. Ground beef, ground turkey, chicken breast, chicken thighs, a lot of potatoes, a lot of rice. Not so much for the oatmeal, sweet potatoes, vegetables. I used to eat a lot of raw vegetables, which gave me horrible gas. But yeah, it was six meals. I mean, to me, that felt about right. When I hear people say they used to eat 10 meals a day, so that doesn't even make sense. If we're talking solid meals, if your meals take 2 hours to digest, and unless you have some superhumanly fast digestive system, you're not digesting a solid meal, even a clean one like white fish and white rice. You're not digesting that any faster than 2 hours. So do the math. You don't eat instantly. Let's say it takes you 15 minutes to eat, right? Let's just say it takes you 15 minutes to eat a meal. It used to take me longer. I'm a slow eater. But let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say it takes 15 minutes. What's 15 minutes times 6? Let's do some math. I'm not good at math, but I'll try my best. So that's 15, 30, 45, 60. An hour and a half. That's an hour and a half of eating. Okay. That's an hour and a half where you're just eating. So you have 6 meals in 2 hours. Let's say it takes 2 hours to digest each meal. So that's 6 meals. That's 12 plus an hour. That's 13. So it's 12 hours plus 13 and a half. I guess you could do it, but you'd be really pushing it because we're assuming that you sleep 8 hours a night. I have heard people that used to wake up and eat in the middle of the night, which I'd personally rather get the sleep. If you're someone who goes right back to bed and can fall asleep with ease, that's great. But there's a lot of us. I was never like that. If I got up to eat, which I used to do that. I tried it a few times, but I realized it was too hard for me to get back to sleep. I'd be laying there for like 30, 40 minutes, an hour. I had stuff to wake up and go to work. It's stuff to wake up at like 6:30, 7 in the morning at the latest. So eventually I'm like, man, I'm missing out on sleep. You need the sleep to recover and grow. Is it really worth it to get that extra meal? For me, it wasn't. I just upped my serving sizes and calories at the other meals throughout the daylight hours. So I would eat, from 7 in the morning until like 9 o'clock at night. And of course, if you're training, there's like 2 hours. You're taking a pre-workout, usually, whatever. You're training. You're not eating while you're training. And how many people get right to a solid meal right at the minute they're done training? Most people have like a shake and then eat an hour later or even later. So yeah, 6 meals was my sweet spot. It worked very well for me and for most people. Favorite protein source? Chicken's the easiest one. It's cheap. It's easy to cook. I mean, I'm lazy now. I don't even cook it anymore. I stopped a couple months back. I was making it in a crock pot, big packages of like chicken breasts or chicken thighs from Costco, throwing them in with some marinade into a crock pot, cooking those. So I would have multiple servings for my meal prep. I would make like 10, 12 servings of chicken at a time. But now I get the $5 rotisserie chicken from Costco. It's got a lot of salt and shit in it, but I cut it up. I strip it down from the bone, separate it out into my glass containers. Gives me like another 10 meals of chicken for $5. I like eggs in the morning. I usually do 2 whole eggs and a half a cup of egg whites. I like ground turkey. I like steak, sirloin burgers, turkey breast burgers. These are things I eat. I don't eat steak every day. Salmon. When I was dieting, I used to eat a lot of whitefish, tilapia. Not the highest quality food, but it's cheap and it's easy. Cooks fast. Favorite protein source? I mean, taste-wise, I love steak, but I don't eat a ton of steak. It takes a long time to digest. EP0 online bodybuilding. How's leg healing up? It's healing up well. I have to say it's taking a lot longer. I lost a month of training after my hair transplant. I couldn't train. That's a month I could have been using to get my leg size and strength back. But I want my hair. I mean, the leg. It's kind of a bummer now looking at pictures from my legs. Even just at this time last year or last summer before I tore the quad, they were still at 53 years old, pretty damn huge, ripped. I had great legs, and I will get them back. It's taking a lot longer than anticipated. I'm being cautious. I'm not really pushing too heavy with the leg training. I don't know if I'll be confident enough to go heavy for another couple months. I'm not in a rush. The last thing I want to do is get injured again. The left leg obviously has no issues, but I want to make sure that the right leg is keeping pace with it. So I'm not doing more than what feels comfortable. That knee, the way they reattached the tendon, the doctor, he did a great job. I'm not saying that he didn't, but it doesn't seem to move and feel exactly the same way. I have to be very careful and I have to experiment with different foot positions than I did before. Like we got a great new hack squat in my gym not long ago, a couple months ago. The first time I tried, I was like, man, I can't do this. It doesn't feel right. And the other day, I took the time and using like no weight at all, and I put like a 45 on. I tried out a whole slew of different foot positions, and I found out that actually pointing my feet, I used to have my feet out at a little angle. Now I find that actually feels like a lot of strain on that repaired right tendon, the quadricep tendon. But if I have my feet, I know this is going to sound wrong, but I'm telling you, it feels better, more secure, slightly angled in, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to say is heresy. I'm not telling you guys to do that. I'm just telling you that after my quadricep tendon repair, this is what feels right. I have to figure out how to train my legs again so that I can go heavier eventually and get my legs back, because they were my best feature. It's what I was always known for. I know a lot of you guys think leggings are, I'm going to say gay. I'm not homophobic, but I know a lot of you guys would feel like, your masculinity would be threatened if you wore leggings. I don't care. I don't give a shit at my age. I'm 54. I don't care. But the point is, I bought a brand new pair of these like camo leggings, gray and black camo leggings from Gas Body Better Bodies. right before I tore my quad, and I was like, I can't wait for the weather to cool down. I can wear these, and because I love training legs in leggings. They give you the support, they keep your legs warm, and you can see the shape of the legs perfectly, the whole leg, not just what's poking out of the shorts. But I haven't been able to wear those yet. So my goal, I want to get my legs back so I can wear that. Kind of like you'll hear a lot of women say, I bought this really nice dress and I want to lose 20 pounds so I can fit into that dress. I want to get my legs back so I can fit into those leggings properly. I would never wear leggings again until my legs were, big and impressive again. The way they are now, wouldn't even think of it, wouldn't dream of it. Okay. If you had the choice between Superdrol and halo testing, what would you recommend? Dan Alb with the CCP hammer and sickle there. I mean, for gains, halo testing was typically used more for prep. Halo testing is used for like aggression. A lot of combat sport athletes use it. I would go with Superdrol. I've used them both, and I mean, if I assume you're asking for like gains and getting bigger and stronger, I would go with the Superdrol Ilo's choice. But again, don't stay on it too long. It's very liver toxic. You need your liver, you need your heart, your liver, your kidneys. You need all your organs, guys. Don't screw around with your liver. Why aspirin for cardio? Well, it was not aspirin by itself, although aspirin's kind of a blood thinner. That's why a lot of people take it. So I'm really not even sure why it was part of the ECA stack, but those three agents together, ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin, they have a synergistic effect when combined, which is why that we had a plethora of very high selling ECA supplements products in the 90s. Those were like the top. It was like the top selling supplement, even more so than protein powder and like the meal replacement powders back then, because they were very, very effective. They gave you a lot of energy. They helped you burn fat. Everybody loved the ECA stuff. I mean, people used to. I think when we heard it was being banned, a lot of us stocked up and bought bottles and bottles of it. Yeah. C-Bum versus Lee Haney. Joe, watch the replay. I talked about it. I showed footage of both of them. So, because I know a lot of the younger viewers may not be familiar with Lee Haney. Joe's from I think you're a natural pro, right? Joe from Ohio, great older guy with a great physique. I wasn't trying to call you old. I'm older than you, I think. But Lee Haney was a much better bodybuilder. C-Bum would have to put significantly more mass on to be able to beat Lee Haney. Don't know if he could or would want to. Like I said, I don't ever see people think, well, C-Bum is going to retire from Classic, but he'll go on to Open. I do not see that happening. Not for a minute, guys. All of you who have your hopes up about Chris Bumstead going Open and being a great Open bodybuilder and doing that for years, I hate to dash your hopes and be that guy, but I would not bet $1 on that. Would not. I think he's got his baby coming very soon. He's going to have 6 Olympia titles this year. He's making bank. He's popular all over the world. He's got his own energy drink. He's got his own meal, the bum bowl on is it Trifecta? One of those. I don't know. Sorry. Co-owner of a supplement company. He's doing great. I don't see him risking his health just to try to win for what? He makes way more money than he would be even winning these Olympia and the Arnolds. He's making great money, and God bless him. Can't wait to see Beirut next to Brandon and Jacked. Oh, what show is that happening at Muscle Machine? What show? Do you know? Beirut is from Iran. Beirut Sabani, Milos Sarcev client. Did he win? Yeah, he won the Arnold Brazil last year, didn't he? The Arnold South America. Tremendous physique, crazy condition. For those people who like to talk crap about Milos and say he doesn't get anyone in shape, well, this guy comes in shape. Yeah, I've never seen him in person. I wait to. Greens from London, what's up? How many calories you had a day? What does your daily look like? I don't know how many calories. I haven't really worked it out. If I had to take a wild guess, I bet it's around 3,500. It's probably right around there. In my bulking days, I used to go to, this isn't good. It wasn't, believe me, it wasn't all good food. I used to go to like 7,000, 8,000 calories a day, but there's a lot of junk in there, man. I used to eat like pizza, cookies, ice cream. I would eat good food, but then I would always have like a dessert with everything. And I was fat. I got fat doing that. So I eat pretty clean now. My meals, egg white, 2 eggs, half a cup of egg whites and oatmeal with some blueberries in it. That's breakfast with coffee. Workout. After the workout, I have Nitrotech whey protein from Muscle Tech. Lately, I've been having like a half a cup of raisins with that. I was doing sugary cereal. About an hour and a half after that, I have chicken and rice. 2 hours after that, I have a turkey breast burger with a slice of cheese on potato bread roll, usually with an apple, big apple. Next meal is taco meat that I make from ground turkey with some taco seasoning. Just fry that in a big pan with some salsa and some tortilla chips all crumpled up in it. Spoon that with a giant spoon. And then my final meal of the day is either a sirloin burger or salmon fillet with half a cup of unsalted mixed nuts, the heart healthy ones, the almonds. What do I got? That macadamia, pecan, the unsalted ones, and big serving of green beans, raw green beans. That's what I eat. So I eat pretty damn clean. I have a treat here and there, but not for the most part. So I don't want to get fat ever again. Do you think 240 mg test is too much for TRT? I feel good in that dose. Sometimes I think it's too much. So the dose, people argue, they make this argument. They say true TRT is only 100, or it's 150, or it's 200, or then you'll say some people, no, it can be 250, 300. If you're using the TRT as actual TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, not as a cycle. So it's replacing your own testosterone because your body has ceased to produce it. It was actually designed TRT for men that never produced enough in the first place. They were hypogonadal. Their bodies never produced enough. Now I think we see it used in more of the aging population of men, guys over 40, whose natural test levels have declined, and a lot of guys who were gear users for years, like myself. I was already on TRT, although I was always cheating and using more. I say cheating because my actual doctor prescribing it was not happy that I was using more than I was supposed to. I was using what he was prescribing me, and I was throwing more gear on top of that. So it wasn't TRT. I was still on a cycle. I'm on TRT now, and it comes out to like 250 a week what I'm using. But go by your blood work. That's the determining factor. You can't say that you need 100 or 150 or 2. You don't know how much you need until when you get your blood work looked at and you see your free test levels and your total test levels based on how much you're taking. And then doctors who prescribe it to you, they will adjust the dose up or down based on those numbers. Most of the time, they just want you to be in a high normal range. They don't want to see you over usually 800, and we're talking the total test numbers. They don't want to see you go over 800. They typically don't want to see you go over 400. 300 is starting to get toward the low size, but most guys will feel at their best in the high normal ranges, somewhere around 700 or 800. A lot of us, I like to be a little higher than that. I like to be closer to 1,000. So I'm probably just a little bit, a touch, a hair higher on the dose, but go by how you feel, but go by your blood work too. But, even the blood work, that's just a number. Thomas O'Connor, Dr. Thomas O'Connor, the anabolic doc, has always said, how do you feel? Because the numbers don't tell that. Numbers will tell you what your numbers are, what your levels are, but they don't give you an indication. It's not a true test of how this is making you feel, because the goal with testosterone replacement therapy is so that you're looking as good as you can, but more importantly, feeling and functioning. You have good energy, you have good mood, you have good libido. And that's, you want to be at a healthy test range. You don't want to be too high, because then you're starting to increase risk for heart disease and things like that. High blood pressure, a lot of things from being on a high dose of test. So you really need to look at your blood work and determine what dose based on that is optimal for you. You can't say any particular. Ground beef, yeah, it's cheap. You can get the like 90%, which is way cheaper than the 93 or whatever. And as you're cooking it, you drain the fat out. You just keep taking the pan over to the sink and draining it, squashing it with a plate or whatever, however you need to do it. And you can make the beef a lot leaner that way, because beef does, the cheaper ground beef, like the 80% especially, once you get into those range, that's very, very fatty, but you can drain the fat out as you cook it. Beef stew, he's a great young bodybuilder. Sacco, my man. See him at Bayshore Athletic Club in Braintree, Massachusetts occasionally. What's your thoughts on a guy's size? I think you mean a guy your size taking semaglutide along with standard TRT protocol. Semaglutide, which is Ozempic, basically, it's that drug that it's become. I think it's now the most widely prescribed drug, certainly for weight loss in the world. Originally, it was prescribed to diabetics for diabetes, and then they saw there was a cool side effect is that people were getting leaner. They were dropping fat using it. So semaglutide, aka Ozempic, Wegovy is the other brand, another company makes that's the same exact drug. I don't know, man. I know it kills your appetite. I've known a few people who are using it. They have trouble having enough appetite to eat sometimes, like a normal meal, because it really crushes your appetite. I don't know if it makes you nauseous. I should have asked, but I don't know, man. I would, if you can do it without it. I personally would not want to see anyone taking Ozempic because I don't know what the long-term side effects are. No, I don't think anybody really does. Hasn't been around that long. I'd rather see you just do, keep the fat off with your diet, your cardio. I know it sucks, especially you. Sacco's, he's not an old guy. He's not as old as me, but he's not a spring chicken either. So I know it's tougher. Your metabolism does get slower. It's more work to lose fat, to stay lean as you get older than it was when you're a younger guy. Most people will find that out eventually for themselves. But I wouldn't want to be on that if I didn't, unless it was like a last resort. And it's for those of us like you, Sacco, you know how to eat, you know how to train and do cardio. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see you do it, man, just because I know you. Believe Dubai Pro. Oh, okay, so Belarus is doing Dubai Pro. Good. Yeah, that's great. I'm so happy that show stepped up the prize money. It's $100,000 first prize, which outside the Olympia and the Arnold, we've never seen a show with a first place cash prize like that. So good on them for stepping up and giving these athletes the money. Bill said, every man should have their test levels. Yeah, I mean, if you want to feel, you're going to feel better with 1,000 or 1,200 test levels. You're going to feel more vigorous, more vital, more manly. You're going to feel better. And, as long as you're getting your blood work done, getting your heart scans done, and keeping everything monitored to make sure that higher test level is not having a deleterious effect, a negative impact on your health markers and what's going on with your heart function. Where's the harm? There is no harm, but you do need to stay on top of that. So don't be reckless and be using a lot of tests and not do regular blood work and not get your EKGs and a stress test every couple of years. I get an ultrasound on my heart and an EKG every year. C-Bum or Bob Paris? Bob was never that lean. He had a little more size. I'd give that one to C-Bum. And I thought Bob Paris had a hell of a physique, but C-Bum's got him had him on the leg development. He's got him on overall condition. I would give it to him. Yeah, Sacco, you're not that big. You're not that heavy. You don't have that much fat to lose. You're not obese or anything. I mean, that's who most of the people using Ozempic to lose weight, they were obese. They were clinically overweight, and they didn't want to put the work in. Any one of them could have done the same thing with cardio and diet, but it's a lot easier to take a shot once or twice a week, whatever it is. Let's show you this test level is so high. Ozempic must have stomach. Yeah, fuck that drug. I think they're finding other things. I mean, suicidal thoughts, depression. They're finding some side effects now that so many people are on it, and people have been on it now for, I think it's been around for about a year in wide use. You're already starting to see a lot of people not enjoying the way it makes them feel in various ways. TRT had me at 1250 because that's where I felt. Got there with 150 test pin. Yeah, no AI. See, that's another thing. You'll see people say, well, this dose of test is going to give you this test level, and that's bullshit. Everyone's body metabolizes testosterone a little bit differently. This guy, 150 milligrams of test. Oh, so were you doing 750 a week? Or were you doing 150 times divided by 3? Were you doing 50, 50, 50? That'd be 150 milligrams a week. That'd be crazy if you were at 1250 total test from 150. At 750, which would be 150, 150, 150, I would expect it to be even higher than that. I would expect to see like a test level of 2,000, maybe more, maybe 3,000. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, man. I'm happy to be here. And guys, please, if you like these, I think I'm going to get in the habit of doing these every Friday live at 5, just so people can get accustomed to this is when we're going to do it. And then I'll have all week to gather questions from the previous episodes. Yeah, I think I need to get a regular time slot when people know it's going to be on and they can participate, because I like this live format, the live chat, starting off with questions that have already been submitted and then going to some new fresh questions that I can answer on the fly. But I do need you guys. Costs you nothing, takes you 1 second. Subscribe. Hit subscribe for me, please. Like the video, that thumbs up, hit that, and share these on your social media platforms if you like them. Just share, and you can share it on your Facebook for those of you who have Facebook. Here in the shithole called Germany, oh boy, we only get 250 meg just on for 14 days. Docs mostly care. Yeah, Dan, I hear that. That's not just Germany. That's most countries. I think the U.S. is one of the more progressive countries in that regard, because we do have a big aging population. Baby boomers, who are the people who are like 60, over 60 at this point. I'm Generation X. I think Generation X people now are like 40 to 60 years old, and then after that's the millennials. So the Generation X, which I'm part of, and the boomers, which people are a little older than me and up, people born after World War II. I think it's like, yeah, whatever the case may be. It's an aging population, and they don't like aging. They don't want to feel old. They don't want to look old. They don't want to go gracefully into old age. They still want to have energy and have good sex and have muscles and still be walking around and doing things like they were when they were 30 years old. So we have a ton of TRT clinics, both online and brick and mortar places. I use a place based out of Texas called Frontline Alternative. They hook up tons of guys who legitimately need it. You have the blood work done, and then they work with you and prescribe it. Frontline Alternative. Andre Miller, the owner of that company, great guy. But yeah, a lot of countries, they don't care. I mean, they only care medically. They're only going to help you if you have some serious health condition. They don't consider that you're losing your strength and your sexual performance and your energy levels and you're depressed. That doesn't bother them. To them, that's not like a legitimate medical issue. Most countries are like that. And, a lot of Europe, they won't even give you, you're lucky you get an anthate every 14 days. I believe in a lot of places in Europe, they only use libido, which is testosterone and decanoate. I've never heard it pronounced. So they get their shots like once every 3 or 4 months. Just one shot that's supposed to slowly release for all that time. And of course, if you're only getting even though it is very stable, it's not like taking cypionate like I do every 4th day. I do half. I do up to 75. So it's 200. I do 100 every 4 days. So what does that come out to? 100 every 4 days. No, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. Let me try. I don't want to lie to you guys. I take it down to 75 on the pen. So that's 150 every 4 days. So it's 300 every 8 days. So I don't know. What's the math on that? I'm on like 270 a week maybe. So it's higher. My levels are a little higher, but I have all my blood work done. I do blood like 5 or 6 times a year at this point. And I see my cardiologist once a year, and we get all the scans done and everything. Okay, so you clarify that. 50 meg 3 times a week. 200 got me. Wow. SHB is naturally now under 10. So you metabolize testosterone very efficiently. I remember talking to Dr. O'Connor when we used to do the Ask the Anabolic Doc. He's got his own channel now. He's got a great a great medical app. It's available online now, but it's going to be an app on your phone very, very soon. I'm going to be working with him to help promote that and be an ambassador. But he had one patient who needed 600 milligrams of test a week, 600 to achieve a high normal range, because his body I think he said the guy did CrossFit and all that. He had a very high metabolism. And that was an extreme case. Very few people would need that much to take them to a high normal range. Very few people. That guy was probably like a less than 1% of the population in terms of that. But I think you're on the opposite end of the spectrum as far as you're very, very efficiently metabolize it so that you get those levels out of a very, very moderate dose. You do prop now 3 times a week. Yeah, so it does require pretty much every other day injections, propionate, because it has a very short half-life compared to the other esters like cypionate or enanthate or a blend like sustanon or decanoate like libido. But yeah, that's why a lot of people will microdose. They'll do every other day, even with their sipping aid. Just they spread out the dose and have a little bit every other day instead of having one shot a week or even 2 shots a week, like I do. I could. My estrogen levels are a little on the high side. I am on an aromatase inhibitor now, a low dose of that, Arimidex, or an Astrazole, I should say. I take that twice a week, but I probably wouldn't need it if I pinned like every other day. Take the same dose, but spread it out over a longer period because it doesn't aromatize as much when you do that. I think that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up because we've been gone for an hour and 17 minutes. It's getting hungry. I want to eat some food. So, yeah, I think I'm going to start doing these. Tell me what you think, if that's a good idea, if you like that idea of doing it once a week. What's that? The banners? I need the banner. I need to go back to the subscribe banner. Yeah. I think I'm going to start doing these every Friday at 5 because then, it'll be a regular thing and people would know to expect it. Hopefully tune in. I'm doing a good job building up this channel with the help of Jen Gerisi, who is the COO, Chief Operating Officer of MD for the last few years of MD's existence. And Jen was a big part of the reason MD was able to stay afloat and do well toward those last few years. She was instrumental with her organizational skills and contributions in many ways. And she's helping me with this channel. So I can't thank Jen enough for that. I can't do it all alone. I'm not that smart. This is what I'm good at. Just talking to you guys like another meathead. We're all passionate about this thing called bodybuilding, and we love what we do. Let's see if there's one last question I'll get to. No? Good. All right, this will be the last question, Muscle Machine. Where would you recommend to inject and how often would you rotate? So I would do glutes, right and left. I would alternate. If you're only doing like 2 shots a week or 1 shot a week, just do right upper outer quadrant. So if you divide your glute into 4 pieces, the upper right and the upper left, if you're looking from the back, would be how to describe that. I would just alternate that. Or you could do right glute, right side delt, left side delt, just go back and forth like that. I have so much scar tissue on my shoulders and my glutes, I don't want any more. I do right left lat now. Lats, if you go right on the tip of the lats, and you can Google it. I'm not going to tell you where to inject on this one, but that's what I would do. So let's go back to the banners. That's it, guys. So again, please help a brother out. I can't get my finger on the right spot. Subscribe, like. It's hard doing this backwards. And share. Appreciate your support as I build this channel up. Ron Harris Muscle. Couldn't do without you guys. I need your views. I need your subscriptions because YouTube is very, very competitive. So I value each and every one of you that watches these, whether live or in the replay. We're doing this on a Friday. If you're watching it live, you know that. But on the replay, you might not. So I want you guys to have a great weekend. Have a couple great workouts. Eat a lot of good food. Get some rest. Take good care of yourself and those you love. And I'll talk to you guys later. See you. Bye-bye.